Oops, daisy. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. As a lone writer, editor, player, analysis, production, well, pretty much everything you may see or read from me, it's very obvious I will miss many titles, much more than I could possibly cover. I still buy many of the titles I cover and hardware, but I do get review code and sometimes it's not up as timely as I would like. As such, I've decided to add a new feature to my channel that covers some of those games, teams or hardware that missed a look first time round. Lost in the Crowd will cover a title, silicon or team that was missed or I felt deserved an article or video. In my first, I thought a small selection of titles would be a great way to start and kick this off. So with 2018 about to shut shop, here are some games that you may have missed. Now, not all of these are from 2018, mind, some are actually older than that.
Octo, Hordebreaker strike!
As a child of the 80s and 90s, I was heavily into manga back then. Although it was dramatically changed since, some of my favourites of that time were steeped in the gritty violence it was known for. We used to import VHS tapes. Yeah, remember those? Until Manga Entertainment finally picked up the slack and released many in Australia, Europe, including the UK. Now Akira is the most famous, but the 1986 Hakutoken was a firm favourite of mine and my mum was so great for letting me watch it. This post-apocalyptic world is very bad, dirty, most certainly not for the kids. Kenshiro has a tough life, scared and left for dead, he returns for vengeance and saviour, with genuinely explosive results. The film was one of the most gruesome of the time, securing an 18 here in the UK, but aside a weak and toned down Mega Drive title I sadly wasted money on then, no game ever really captured the look, feel and violence from the North Star. Step forward Sega and the Yakuza team to fix that. Ken is as extreme and apathetic as the film here, with an equal level of comedy deaths. The budget and aims are not designed to impress, with stunning vistas or realistic physics or animation. Instead, a gritty, tongue-in-cheek and above all fun-filled tale is the order of the day. Without knowing this was a PS4 title, you could think it was actually a HD remaster from the Xbox 360 or PS3 era. The design follows many of those limits: invisible walls, fixed checkpoint moments, a reliance on text rather than voice acting, textures, models, animation and art are all functional at best. But this is all they need to be. What it lacks in visual quality, it makes up for in claret. Learning the ways of the star delivered rapid attacks, combos and gloriously extreme finishes. It's just like playing the 86 movie. Heads explode, pressure points popped and guts are used as decor, all in the name of enjoyment. If you like your conversations meaty, your plot light and your gameplay varied and refreshing, this is the perfect antidote to those tales of childhood scars, dark undertones of character definition and protracted story. Ken is not a modern man, but he is a deadly one.
Octo, crucifying strike!
Omayama Monsindayu. As a backup, or alternative to this, is Sega's Yakuza series. Reaching number 6 this year, you have a modern, polished but equally flamboyant release, with less claret and more karaoke than Ken's Tale. It also runs with a sub 1080p resolution here on the PS4. Fist of the North Star runs at 1536 by 864, but it's bumped to 900p here in Yakuza 6, and both run 1080p on the Pro. Pixel counts aside, it still delivers a gorgeous recreation of Tokyo streets that continued the Shenmue series long after Suzuki-san left with Ryu in tow. It runs and looks great with a mix of comedy, violence and retro arcades. The two complement each other brilliantly, with a crossover skin available in Fist. You can pick your poison from two cracking Sega releases in 2018. Now, some may remember this open-ended racer from my top 10 games of 2018. No? Well, that's likely because it never made it in, but the clue's in the license plate. The simple reason is I had not played it when I compiled my list. Having enjoyed 3, asked for review code, it never arrived. It remained one of the bargains that I could pick up later on or via Game Pass here on Xbox. So thanks to that, and a couple of other games in this list, I've enjoyed for far less than a cup of coffee. Bargain. It should come as no surprise then that Playground Games have done a cracking job of recreating theirs and my British Isle with another stunning game. Long, sweeping draw distance, varied time of day and weather, which now includes seasons. What it also brings for the first time is 60 FPS on console thanks to the X. The 4K 30 mode does improve on many elements such as shadow map resolution, material details, shadow casting headlights and poly count, but for a racing game 16 milliseconds is the best boost that elevates this as the best Horizon release on console. The base Xbox looks identical to this mode and still delivers all the action, views and clarity at half the performance, which is what you've been used to on that machine and this series. It presents one of the best examples that these premium consoles offer and is something I've harped on about since before they launched. Choice. Being able to flick between 30 or 60 FPS on the fly, well actually not in this particular game, as it does necessitate a restart of the game rendering engine itself, which is quite an odd choice, but it must be down to the fact they've chosen quite severe ways of keeping that performance high and dropping the resolution back down to 1080p, which is obvious on a 4K screen. You can instantly see the difference in clarity and stability, but that performance increase in a racing game is the best choice, and it really allows you to pick your passion. And for me, that is always the response rate over the fill rate. Some minor issues remain, such as obvious LOD popping at times, repetitive sections of track, or the poorly constructed and animated character models, but this is a racing game, so it's hardly the core element. But come rain or shine, this is always an absolute stunner.
Where you can be whatever you want to be. It's not your dream holiday, it's your dream life.
Another game that really came out of nowhere, and the one game here that I did get sent a review code from earlier this year, but unfortunately due to commitments and other time reasons I never really got a chance to give it a review, is Wreckfest. Again, this is really a hark back to those Destruction Derby days, one of my older retrospective titles that I covered back on the PlayStation 1, and this really is a modern take on that, with physics far excessive of what's possible there. Cars, billboards, tyres, everything breaks and corrupts and crumples around you, and it has loads of little modes in there. Certainly the Christmas mode you can see here is a nice little touch, giving a snow-filled track treat to all the areas you play, and it's a great title that allows you to drive around dressed as Santa in a snowmobile to smash things up, or buggies, tractors, cars. You can race properly or just use it like a Destruction Derby. All those options are there, and it's a great little title with loads of things adding to it. You do have to play around with this, and this is running on my lower end PC. You certainly need slightly better quality here to bump the visual quality up. It can tank the frame rate at times when you've got a grid full of cars and characters. The physics engine and the visual quality of that destructible engine in there does hanker the frame rate a little bit on this particular machine, but on my better machine it certainly runs a lot smoother, and 60 FPS or even above is not out of the question. You can play around with the settings and get better visual quality. If you are looking for a physics based racing title with loads of functions, tracks and vehicles to offer, then this really has all those areas covered and includes a career and online mode and custom races, which you can see some examples of here. The excellent use of soft body physics on the chassis and the game materials for the physics system is commendable and works a treat, and even though it's available right now on PC, it will be available on both consoles early next year. Now this is a game I was really looking forward to, mixing up elements from Myst, The Witness and of course Ico. It focuses on that bright Mediterranean feel from its Spanish development team. Using Unreal Engine 4, quite common in this list so far, and further on, it certainly nails that with soft lighting, clean design, particles and ambient music with no dialogue. Means it plays a lot with visual level design and puzzles that ramp up in complexity as you move through the game. The way the game teaches you how things work is one of the strongest elements. You understand that Y calls out to certain objects and points in the game, pulling you in as you see areas of interest, turning pillars or climbing ledges. It grows and expands your repertoire, meaning you can enjoy the story and island unlocking before you, just like The Witness with a similar style here. Sadly, we do not get an X enhanced version here. Instead, native 1080p and 30 FPS cap all remain, and compounding this, my only real negative is the poor frame pacing the game has, which can be seen here with my real-time frame graph, but it's just as easily felt when playing without it. As combat is never in question, it has little effect on the gameplay, but a consistent 33 millisecond delivery is always preferred, and my only slight on an enjoyable, if short, game that anyone who enjoyed the above games or Abzu Journey et al. Will likely love also. Now, this game was a standout right back with the Xbox One launch, yet here we are at the end of the console's lifespan, and it's only just emerged from under a rock. Another roguelike title that has you scavenging the Isle for food, weapons and treasures while staying alive. Art design is excellent, using an isometric mixed view, soft depth of field for scale, and brilliant use of light and vertex shading to present a unique, almost cute style to such a barren and deadly game style. I've only been able to play for an hour or so, which is limited enough here to cover it and give you a taste in this quick look, but what it can offer, aside permadeath, 4K and 60 FPS, is welcome on the X here, with the base model running at 1080p and 60. The sharp resolution is welcome for such angular art, and high specular shading means the enhanced X version is obvious once you shift between them. Performance also looks solid so far, but with a game like this, a much further stretch of test is needed. But I doubt any grave concerns are needed. It's another Game Pass powered treat which allows excellent value for the subscription, and hopefully will help games like this and others secure a much wider audience. I really hope this game does see that kind of impact with such a long gestation of development. It certainly spiked my interest if it's now gone off the boil slightly with the impact it made way back when the Xbox was announced. Rare are one of the biggest, well-known and loved teams from my gaming history. They pretty much led the N64 out of the gates and have a catalogue that speaks for itself. Even beyond that, I was really looking forward to this game, and I played the alpha, and the visual quality is again without doubt. Stylized art, online at its core, the Horizon seems set for them to bring it home as a quality Xbox exclusive. And visually they did just that. It takes the crown for the best ocean effects we have enjoyed in games thus far, beating Black Flag for me. Running at 4K with the best textures and improved effects, it also uses the extra hardware well, even if the 30 FPS cap that remains on consoles is not the biggest issue. There are stutters that can happen during play, as it is far from a fast-paced FPS, they again don't really affect it. It's not the biggest shame is the sheer lack of things to do and the random nature of those great moments hidden amongst the game. You can spend hours just sailing around, chasing ships, hunting treasure, or hoping for a Kraken encounter. Yeah, everyone loves Krakens. Now this leaves the experience beautiful but empty. It screams out for a single player story mode to allow you the option to enjoy the game and what it has to offer. When you have a full squad, you can see these moments, but for me, the time it takes to have these moments is far outweighed by the enjoyment they bring. A stunning game that lacks enough action to hold my attention, but it's still mouthwatering.
Three creatures of the dark plains rise above all others. The Elder Dark fed upon the light and thrived. The second marked the coming of the listener matriarchs, titans who revered the light.
Another title like RiME that had a delayed release and then launched this month, complete with a 4K mode on the X here alongside a 1080p one. Wait though, this does not offer a 60 FPS mode. Instead we see the same 33 millisecond frame time cap, and I suspect it has been introduced for later moments when the 4K resolution can bring some heavier dips. Early tests put both modes well held at 30, but the art style and roguelike design is no longer so open as it once was. A few hours in and my attention was waning. It may be great for those still after that kind of game, and the early hook and combat did not really pull me into that experience as much as I played it elsewhere. I'm talking about things like Dark Souls and obviously Bloodborne. The art style is very different, but the gameplay is very similar to those. Now, Game Pass again really helped here, along with other titles, allowing me the chance to try before I buy, and the early promise Ashen held, I would have to play much more of this and get to those boss battles before I committed and made a final decision. The hook just never felt enough for me in those first hours, but still an original tale for you to look into if you're interested by this quick look that I'm covering here. But certainly, if you have got Game Pass, then you've got no real risk to try it out and see what you think of it. Never has a film been such a box office failure at the time to then go on to inspire an entire generation of pop videos, movies and wider medium as Blade Runner. It is one of my favourite films visually, audibly and narrative. Rutger Hauer was a standout in that film, and he returns to a very similar themed title in The Observer. No longer a replicant, but an augmented viewer of minds able to hack the minds of others to learn their fate. In true Blade Runner style, you can observe and analyse crime scenes to find the clues and solve this neo-neuro detective tale. Cyberpunk 2077 does look incredible, and this 2017 title almost looks like inspiration to CDPR's next mega hit. It's not a fast-paced action title, but targets 60 FPS here on the Xbox One X, which really helps the look and feel of the game. It is available on PC and PS4. Great use of lighting, texture details and post filters such as the organic filter really delivers a futuristic and disturbing take on what the future may hold. The impeccable art direction and story-driven gameplay hooked me from the start, and although pacing and prolonged segment design at times can diminish parts, it still felt fresh enough and visceral enough, and I even had some flashbacks to Snatcher, which is not a bad thing at all. A brilliant Blade Runner-esque game that can be enjoyed on PC and consoles alike for great value, even via Game Pass yet again, along with a bunch of other titles here. Hopefully not a game like the rest here that disappears like tears in the rain.
I guess you're through, huh?
Finished.
It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?
And this again is something new that I'm trying to work with. Rather than make longer videos, I'm making a short condensed one with quick looks and facts about resolution, performance, the game overall, the gameplay and the quality that I probably would never have covered had I not merged them into one short video like this. As always, please leave your thoughts and feedback below, support me on Patreon if you can, and also chat with me over on Twitter. You can also read more on this and many other things over on Rectify Gaming, not just from me, but also from the team over there. But for now, I'm out, and this will be my final video for 2018. But don't worry, I will be back in 2019 with much more to come. So you guys and girls stay tuned till then, and have a great new year. I'll catch you on the next one.
Don't be afraid. I'm here to help. What happened here? Listen to...